Yes, thank you very much. Good morning. Does everybody hear me? Yes, perfect. Thank you very much. It was a challenge to fit everything, to fold everything into 5-minute presentation, just like we folded the little origami, which I also did. So thanks a lot. We can already switch to the next slide, please. So the objective of the project, BlueBoatsMed, which was piloted by Plan Bleu. I'm a project officer at Plan Bleu, which is a regional activity center of UNEP-MAP. Was to explore the potential for a blue transition of the recreational boating and cruise sectors. The questions that we had in mind was, will it be technology that will take us out of the unsustainability of these sectors that we currently observe, or will it be different things? Will it be regulation that might be restrictive? Next slide, please. Thank you. So the project was a 4-step, 4-meeting approach with four steps. First one is on analyzing the prospects for further and sustainable expansion in the cruise and recreational boating sectors in the Mediterranean, which was based on discussion with the partners, which will be presented at the end of the presentation. What came out of this was a trends analysis. Then the second step was to agree on up to 4 main environmental challenges that are associated with this expansion. And the 4 challenges we identified were safeguarding biodiversity and ecosystems, the impact on socio-economic systems, air pollution, and the circular economy. So we identified in the third step 28 innovations, which were a lot more than what we initially had in mind when we designed the project. And then we discussed in the fourth step the potential and readiness for further uptake of these innovations, and identified the main instruments that would need to accompany these in the different time scales. So what came out of this was a scoping study for further activities and a foresight study. So next slide, please. The outcomes, I will not talk about everything because I don't have the time to do so, but I might just focus on the cruising sector. What I present here does not take into account the current COVID pandemic impact, which we also analyzed, but I will not focus on this now. We can maybe address this in the questions later on. So the cruising sector shows a soaring growth throughout the last years, both in terms of the number of passengers and also the size of the vessels. What has been identified by the participants in the project is that the cruising market is a market that is driven by the offer, which means as soon as there is a new vessel coming up to the market, it is full. But this growth also comes with negative environmental and social externalities that grow as the market grows. For now, there is no such thing as an absolute decoupling of growth of the market and environmental or social degradation. So what we see is air and water pollution, physical degradation of ecosystems, a lot of waste generation. We have on the social side an unbalanced distribution of the revenues. It is very unclear how the return on investment for the destinations takes place because they invest a lot, but they also take up a lot of the negative externalities that come out of this market. We also find saturated destinations that create social problems locally and a general increasing social unacceptance of the cruise activities in the destination. Some of the identified innovations within the project were shore power, new types of fuels, capping numbers of passengers or capping numbers of vessels and destinations within the carrying capacity notion, or establishing no-go zones. Future actors and factors that will influence the sustainability of the cruising include, of course, the current pandemic and how this will carry on in the future, but also other things like geopolitical circumstances or overall security, and air traffic, which is very important because the cruise sector depends on air traffic. So as long as we don't have strong air traffic, we cannot have strong cruising. Let me just touch a little word on the recreational boating because it's very interesting. Here we have rather a stagnating market which is very conducive or might be conducive to structural change at this point of time. We have a generational change of boat owners. So the traditional, the lion's share of the boat owners are stepping out of the market, let's say it like this. And the same is true for the boats, which come to end of life more and more in the Mediterranean. So this is a segment where we might actually see structural change in the coming months. Within BlueBoatsMed, we collected a number of innovation trends, opportunities, and we created a space for discussion of different stakeholders, private sector, scientists, institutional sector, etc. Future cruising and recreational boating in the Mediterranean. But yet, the project did not allow us to give a clear statement about the potential for a blue transition of these sectors. The reason for this is on the next slide, please. Yes, like a famous baseball player, Yogi Berra once said, if you don't know where you're going, you'll probably end up somewhere else. And this is the issue that we faced here within BlueBoatsMed. The sustainability transition, it can only be designed and operated if the landing point, the very definition of what sustainability means for the cruising and recreational boating sector is clearly defined. And setting the objective at reaching sustainable sectors, like we see often, or identifying innovations that will foster the transition towards sustainability, they actually might not lead to only lead to marginal reductions of the degradations we were talking about earlier. And they are likely not to be enough to engage into the needed profound changes of these sectors. So what we need are clear sustainability goals that have to be defined, and we need to show the magnitude of the required change to really turn into sustainability. And to get everybody's buy-in to participate into this, these goals must be elaborated collectively together in a participative and inclusive way. And it will have to include both the technological solutions we showed in the beginning and the regulation. Now, what we're doing now as Plan Bleu is to work on the elaboration of guidelines for the sustainability of cruises and recreational boating in the Mediterranean region. And these guidelines will build on BlueBoatsMed results, which are very important for this, and experiences from other projects. And here I would like to cite 3 InterRegMed projects, which are the Blue Growth Community, the Sustainable Tourism Community, and the Mediterranean Biodiversity Protection Community, who will capitalize their results also in this guidelines project. And we will also benefit from the support of the Barcelona Convention UNEP-MAP system in this guidelines project. The guidelines are planned to be developed in the upcoming months, and a multi-stakeholder working group is already in place. So we can switch to the next slide, please. So if you want to follow the process of the definition of a common vision for cruising and recreational boating in the Mediterranean, or in reading the full BlueBoatsMed Foresight report, let's keep in touch. I think we have a virtual coffee session afterwards where we can discuss even further just after the questions and answers session. And I would like to thank everybody who participated in this project. I tried to name everybody on this slide. I hope I didn't forget anybody. So all of your contributions were very valuable in this project. Thank you very much.